I will say that I think that when I think of all of my friends, I think that my path has been the most windy out of all of my friends. We talk about climbing a ladder. I never climbed a ladder. My commitment to myself since really starting my own journey 10 plus years ago, I guess, yeah, it's about 10 years ago, um, has always been to follow my joy and curiosity. Hello, hello. I hope you're doing well, as always. Um, so today in this Building in Public series, over the weekend I realized something very, very glaring, which is I talk so much about building in public because that's important. Um, so much of my work is about the importance of clearing your own path, um, about honoring your dreams, honoring your stories, all of these things. But the thing that's glaringly obvious to me now is that I have never shared the before, like what happened to, like what's led me to this point in my own personal journey and clearing my own path. And so we're going to talk about that today. Um, I will say that I think that when I think of all of my friends, I think that my path has been the most windy out of all of my friends. We talk about climbing a ladder. I never climbed a ladder. My commitment to myself since really starting my own journey 10 plus years ago, I guess, yeah, it's about 10 years ago, um, has always been to follow my joy and curiosity and trust that by following my joy and curiosity, it will lead me where I need to go. Um, and I will say it has been a real test of faith because I have followed my joy and curiosity down a path that at times did not make any sense. Um, at times, I thought I was gonna have to make a U-turn. Some of them were little detours, I believe. Um, but ultimately, all of these experiences have really taught me things along the way and have guided me to this point here, where I am basically building a company that is supporting other Black, Indigenous women and femmes of color to essentially clear their own path and do the same. So, yes, when I think about what's the point at which I tell, like, where I start the story, I would say I would start the story in 2016. Yes, probably about 26, no, 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. I Yeah, I made the commitment. I'm not sure exactly what. I think it was maybe like a lady that I had met randomly, and she told me, you try your best to build your life around the quality of life that you want, not your job. And then I tagged on to follow joy and curiosity. If it's something that deepens your curiosity, if it gives you incredible energy and energizes you, if it brings you joy and happiness, then follow it. And so, yeah, I basically did that. And what I also did was, which I didn't even realize that throughout this whole time, I was basically building out the framework for the cohort that I now lead and teach. Um, but one thing I did was I sat down, and I know for a fact this was 2016, but I sat down and I told myself to make a list of the 5 things that I want to do in life that have nothing to do with making money. And some of those things were, one of those things was traveling. I remember that. Something else was telling people stories, having conversations with lots of people, meeting lots of people, um, creating something, a project or a company or something that would create conversations and deeper meaning across cultures. And I wrote it down in my journal and then I just said, okay, well, I can't imagine, it's too hard to imagine 10, 20 years from now. But I'll just have this in my notebook. I'll keep it in my mind. And every single thing that I do, to the best of my ability, will be in that general direction. And so, um, yeah, I started the path. And the thing about like clearing your own path is, well, I'll say for myself, I thought that my unconventionality was a glitch. And I think I talked about this in the last video, but really was a feature. And I realized now that I don't think that I was ever meant to go down those traditional paths, um, for a number of reasons. But I remember being in college and about to graduate, and everyone is talking about the jobs they're going to get, and how they're going to work at this agency or that agency. And then people turn to me and ask what I'm going to do, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to do that. That didn't quite feel right. I felt very much like I was searching constantly for an example of a path to follow, and I could never find that exact path that matched the one that I felt that I needed to follow. And I realized intuitively that that is because I'm supposed to clear my own path. I'm not supposed to follow somebody else's path. I have to clear my own. And that is the point at which I felt like I was kind of standing at the edge of a forest and having to just whack whack with like a machete. And so I've been doing that for like the last 10 years, and I feel like um it was certainly unconventional, but it was also uh I wouldn't trade it. Like I genuinely would not trade it. I think that there's a very healthy level of courage. I don't even think you necessarily, for me, like I took these paths because took this path because I felt like intuitively it just didn't sit right with me to follow the traditional way of going about, and just kind of going along checking boxes, and have a career and get married and have a baby and all those things. Um, I just it didn't feel right to follow it. And I'm very thankful that I followed my intuition on that. It has definitely not been easy. It is at times very lonely, or has been very lonely. And it has not always felt like a light thing to carry. Um, and that is in part why I've created Reverb Root, because I would love to have had this that I'm building 10 years ago when I was doing it by myself. Um, and with the wisdom and the knowledge and all of that I have now from all of that time, um, I'm giving it. I'm compiling it and I'm giving it. Um, and I think there's so much wisdom that we all have, and there's so much knowledge that we've carried because of our experiences. And I think that doing the work of clearing our own paths, making sure that we are building lives, and yeah, lives, whether it's career or your personal life, that when you look back on it, you can see that it's got your individual fingerprint on it. I think that that work is so much easier, and also more interesting, when you're doing it with other people. And so, yeah, I graduated. I did not get a job at a ad agency like I was told by my professors and all of my friends and classmates. I decided that I wanted to try working for myself, which at times worked, at times did not work. So there were times where I had to get jobs. There were times where I was able to work for myself. Now finally at a place where I am consistently able to work for myself, um, and build Reverb Root. Um, and yeah, there were times where, like, I graduated and I had an internship in New York City, like 3 days after I graduated college. And I was just I literally sold, I'm gonna sound probably crazy, but I sold just about every single thing that I owned. And with the belief that, like, I'm going to go to New York City for the summer, and that's going to be it. Like, I'm not coming back to Alabama. This is it. And it did not work out that way. I came back to Alabama with literally a few suitcases, and I think I had like a very small storage unit. And thank God I didn't sell my car. Um, Not that I didn't try to sell my car, the car just would never get sold. And now I'm thinking that's the universe because if I had come back and had no car in a city that relies on cars, I would have probably been up a creek. So, I was very devastated by that. I thought that my life was over because I came back in September and because I had not applied to any jobs, those entry level jobs were not there. But I am so thankful looking back now that I don't always get the things that I want. Sometimes that is a form of protection and a hidden blessing to want something so bad and to not get it. And I find that a lot of times when you look back, you're like, thank you, it did not work out because now I realize New York City is a really great place to visit and stay for like a short term. But I think knowing myself, I would have been very poor, very stressed with bills and student loans and all the things. And coming back, even though I did not have a job prospect, it kind of forced me to figure it out. It forced me to figure it out. And goes back to clearing that path and finding the tools, scavenging for the tools to be able to do such a thing. I think when it comes to taking this leap to clear your own path, I also want to be clear that clearing your own path doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to look like mine, where you don't take a traditional path, you live a bit of an unconventional life, things like that. I think it also, on a personal level, it can look like having a full-time job, but maybe the path that you're clearing is within your personal life. Perhaps that looks like realizing that you've been living a life that is really for other people, instead of for yourself. And it's one that you're not fully satisfied with because there are things that you're putting on the back burner, perhaps yourself. And part of clearing your own path is really addressing those things in your personal life. I have definitely had to even do that in my personal life, because I think that it's kind of the easy thing to check the boxes. It's the very easy thing to check the boxes. And I've been talking with people recently about the fact that we're in a day and age where the people who I feel are going to be the safest are going to be the people who realize that the paved roads are not safe. There may be lots of people who go down the paved roads, but you are much safer if you are clearing your own path, um, and able to have that flexibility in and courage to do the thing that's right for you, even if it does not look like everyone else is doing that. Um, when it comes to clearing my own path, I mean, I have lived in my aunt and uncle's basement for 6 months, and basically every penny went to paying off student loans. Like I've done so many different things to basically go in pursuit of those things that I talked about earlier that I wanted to do in life that were not attached to money. And so for me, my path has been figuring out ways to live below my means and to do things that bring me joy, to craft a career and a life that may not look like everyone else's. I mean, I literally left the city to move back to my hometown. It kind of sounds like a Hallmark movie, you know? But by me committing to myself and committing to the things that light me up, the things that I intuitively know are right for me, I feel that I have lived a happier life than I would have had I not done those things. And so, with you clearing your own path, I hope one that you would be courageous to do it. I hope that you um, will be able to have community, regardless of who you are. If you are a Black, Indigenous woman or femme of color, then I highly encourage you to join Reverb Root. Um, but I think ultimately, We need to do the things. We deserve to do the things that bring us joy, that pique our curiosity, um, and that, yeah, just light us up. And so clearing your path may not be linear, likely it will not, and you have to be willing to accept that it's not going to be, and that that's part of the beauty of the journey and the excitement of the journey. And to have a nonlinear path basically makes a really great story to look back on and to tell. All right, till next week. Bye.